Hey guys, sorry that I can't be at school today, but we're still going to do notes like we would if I were there. So make sure you go to your table of contents in your notebook and add in today's notes. The date today is 9/18, and our title is Power to Power Rule. So just like we would when we're in class, when I'm taking notes, you guys can be taking notes. And because it's a video, you can pause whenever you need to, especially if you're writing things down. So power to power rule is connected to like what you guys did yesterday. When I hear the word power, I'm thinking exponent. And now when I see power to power, I'm thinking exponent to exponent. So we're going to just start with an example. And our first example is 6 to the third power to the second power. So here in our example, you can see that there's a third power, but then that is also to the second power. So there's two powers, power to a power. And I find that the best way to look at these is to start with our expanded form so we can really understand what's going on. So I'm going to start with expanded form. An expanded form really is just like showing your work. You're just showing what's actually happening. It can also teach us what the rule is so you don't have to do it every time. So I see that it's 6 to the third power to the second power. So I have 6 to the third to the second power means 2 times 6 to the third. And I'm noticing I can expand that even further, and I can do 6 times 6 times 6 for 6 to the third times 6 times 6 times 6. So we just expanded 6 to the third, 6 to the second. Or 6 to the third to the second. So as I'm seeing that expanded, I can see that there are 6 sixes, which that means 6 to the sixth power. So that would mean that our exponent form, meaning it has an exponent, but it's simplified, is 6 to the sixth power. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6 sixes. And then in standard form means I'm just going to use my calculator and calculate it. So for standard form, that's just the answer. And it's much easier to use the exponential form and then put that in your calculator. So I literally type in 6 to the sixth power, which ends up getting you 46,656. If you're not sure how to do it in your calculator, there is a little button called the caret button that you can use. You would type the number 6, caret, and then the number 6 again. That means 6 to the sixth power. So if you're using a calculator, that's what you would use to calculate this. I'm going to pause so you can catch up. And as you're taking your notes on this, think about maybe what you're noticing. Is there any sort of pattern from expanded form to exponential form that could help us out? We'll try another one. Number 2. 5 to the second power to the fourth power. So I'm visualizing 5 to the second to the fourth. So I'm going to go ahead and write expanded form. I'm going to abbreviate and just put EXPAND, so expand, just to abbreviate a bit. 5 to the second to the fourth power means 5 to the second 4 times. And as you can see, I can simplify even more, and it would be 5 times 5 for 5 squared. Another 5 times 5 for 5 squared. Another 5 times 5 for 5 squared. And another 5 times 5 for 5 squared. This expanded form can then lead us into the exponent form. So I'll abbreviate again. exponent exponent form. Now, as I'm looking at my fives, I have 2, 4, 6, 8 fives. So that would be represented as 5 to the 8th power. 5 times 5, 8 times. And then lastly, you can use your calculator to go ahead and simplify that. And I'm going to use that caret button. 5 caret 8, or 5 to the 8th power. And I get a huge number. 390,625 is the standard form. So I'm wondering here if you noticed any pattern between what happens from the original to expanded to exponent form. If you're noticing a pattern, that would then be translated into the rule. So we're going to go ahead and write the rule. Rule for power to a power. So just like we had in our examples, we had an exponent to another exponent. That means when raising a power, which is what you saw inside the parentheses, to another power, that was outside the parentheses, what do you think we did? So take a moment and kind of think about that. For number 2, I had 2 to the 4, and I ended up with 8. I'm looking at the exponents. 2, 4, and then it simplified to 8. You multiply the exponents. Hopefully you saw that on your own, but yes. So you don't have to do expanded form every time, you just multiply the exponents. That'll save you a lot of work. So since this is one of our rules for this module, I'm going to use my highlighter to make it nice and obvious. When I look at my notes, it pops out at me. And then just to show it as like an example, I'm going to use a variable x. We'll go to the 5th power. That will equal x to the 2 times 5, meaning I'm multiplying 2 and 5, which then would simplify to x to the 10th power. Hopefully you guys got it. There will be more examples to try in your class kick.